And then the other question that I had, and maybe this will lead us into the purpose of the government, something that I know in all of these, Antifa protesters, which Charlie talked about so much before he died, from what I understand, even privately to people in the government saying, look, we got to break up these left-wing terror cells. They're serious, they're inflicting violence. And that was something that he pushed hard for, that those of us who care about his legacy should also be focusing on that, especially those with the power to do it in the government. But what is it about communism? I see this hammer and sickle. I see these people who say they want equality, they want peace, they want everyone to be taken care of, and they say they're fighting against poverty. Why always, every single time you see those mantras and those symbols, do you see such violence and ugliness and godlessness? Like, why do those things go hand in hand?
It's interesting, Allie. Our mutual friend, James Lindsay, is a agnostic atheist. And about a year before Charlie died, he texted Charlie and he said, Charlie, I'm starting to believe in Satan because I'm looking at the history of communism in the 20th century where communist governments killed probably 100 million of their own people, communist governments. And so Charlie texted him back, if Satan, then God. And James texted back, that would follow. In other words, it's the point that if there's evil, there has to be good, because evil's not a thing in itself. It's a lack in a good thing. It's like cancer. If you take all the cancer out of a good body, you got a better body. But what happens if you take all the body out of the cancer?
Yeah.
You got nothing, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist on its own.
Oh,
and I say that because the history of communism is so poor that only an intellectual could defend it. Okay, I think Thomas Sowell said that. Communism and atheism go hand in hand. Why? Well, because in atheism and communism, the state is eternal and the individual is expendable. The individual is not eternal. In Christianity, the state is not eternal. The individual is. And so we have to have protections for the individual against a despotic government. That's what our Bill of Rights is all about.
Let's talk about the purpose of the government. What is the purpose of the government?
Well, biblically and logically, just reasonably, the purpose of the government is to protect innocent people from evil by punishing wrongdoers. And that is what Paul talks about in Romans chapter 13. And of course, it's mentioned also in Genesis chapter 9. If we had no government, wrongdoers would run rampant, just like they did almost rampant at UC Berkeley. We need a force to protect innocent people from evil and to punish wrongdoers. And when governments cease to do that, they cease to become legitimate governments. That's why our founders in the Declaration of Independence listed a long list of abuses that King George had committed against them. And so they said, if the government won't secure our rights, we have a right to a new government. And the real founder of our Constitution was James Madison, who said, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. I mean, if you think about the fact that human beings are not angels, but if we were, would we need a government? We wouldn't need a government at all. We'd always treat people well. There's no reason to have an outside force prevent evil, because nobody would be doing evil and there'd be no wrongdoing to be punished. But since we are fallen and we do need a savior, we need a government to protect innocent people from evil. And this is where your book, Toxic Empathy, is so important, because people think one-sidedly, and you will explain it better than me. So I want you to take it from here, Allie, because you explain the fact that people don't see both sides of an issue and they wind up supporting the criminal rather than the victim. Can you unpack that for us?
Sure. Yes. The media does this very well, and there are so many examples of this. But in my book, I go through the 5 subjects where we see the media use empathy by hoisting up a particular victim to get you to draw the progressive conclusion about something. For example, when it comes to abortion, NPR told this terrible story of this woman named Samantha who was pregnant, and she found out at 20 weeks that her baby had this fatal fetal anomaly, wouldn't live long after birth. And so how NPR tells this story is that, to her horror, she found out that in the state of Texas, she couldn't get an abortion. That's what she wanted. And so she was forced to carry this pregnancy. She was forced to bear the financial burden of delivery and bearing her child. She was forced to go through this emotional distress because she wasn't given a choice because of this cruel, draconian Texas law. So it's all told from the perspective of the mother as the victim in this situation. Never are we told what an abortion entails. Never are we told about this child, that she got to be delivered, that she got to be held, that she got to be named, that she got to be kissed and loved and cared for and then buried like the human being that she is. They don't talk about what would have happened if abortion had been allowed. She would have been poisoned, dismembered, thrown away like toxic waste. It was all from the perspective of the pain of the mother who was forced to carry this child to term. So at the end of it, you see all the comments on Instagram on this particular post too. Everyone's incensed. Everyone feels so deeply for this mother. Everyone feels so much empathy for this mother that they draw the conclusion that NPR and Washington Post and all of these outlets want them to draw, which is these pro-life laws are cruel. Because look at the pain that it causes. This is true when they tell stories about an illegal alien, when they tell the story about the man who feels he was caught and trapped in the wrong body, when they talk about, oh, this person just wants to love who they want to love, or, oh, this criminal had such a hard upbringing. When you focus on their stories, you forget that, okay, well, if I support the policy that this outlet wants me to support, well, then babies die, then women and girls don't get private spaces, then children don't have both a mom and a dad, and then there are a bunch of victims of this person being let out of jail. In economics, that's called the second order effect. People don't think about the second order effect of their first decision. And when you're powered by empathy to make a decision, you are blinded to the victim on the other side of the moral equation.
Especially when that victim is never brought up.
Right.
Or the victim is told that victim, particularly in the pro-life issue, isn't really a person.
Right.
So that's so well said. And I know your listeners, if they haven't gotten toxic empathy yet, they need to get it.